Stokes and the six face accounts on spending, defense spending, increase cost spending, spending in S&T and invest in development of defense industry could diversify exports and offer opportunities with global companies. Taiwan policy to offset costs and working through FMS's offset benefit is accepted through his government builds these costs into his contract with Taiwan to get acquired through the offset program may have a significant impact on the economy. The impact is Chinese semiconductor dominance. They won't succeed in closing the gap now, but continue Taiwanese branch and will lock it in. Kingen, roll 12-4-19. Taiwan is averaging semiconductor engineering talent to China. Top level talent from Taiwan's world leading companies have been lured by Sarah. China's Achilles heel in this war tactic lies in lagging semiconductor industry, but it is determined to boost capabilities that are important. The China's making big strides forward. Luring talent is key. This is a controlling internal link to the scope and pace of PLA military modernization. Chu and the 16 Bible chip sector would help the PLA modernization system benefit by increasing performance and decreasing cost. The more successful domestic chip system, the more rewards the PLA is likely to do. Taiwanese expertise transfers the primary asset mill over hardware supply. Given the semiconductor gap, the diffused Taiwanese knowledge will contribute to PLA modernization. Hardware for the PLA is less important than knowledge transfer. Specifically, it's the key internal link underpinning advanced weapons modernization. Major workers in Majoris in 18 positioning leading edge semiconductor key in intel military, detaining a tech lead, our paramedic, and preparing for local wars. Semiconductor key in its military modernization underpin China's RMA encompassing long-range precise unmanned weapons, precision-guided weapons. Its feasibility contributes to semiconductor key can because substantiate superior and precision force electron warfare, compromising C and C. These breakthroughs are uniquely destabilizing and emboldening aggression, leads to maritime hotspot escalation, hypersonic arms system while breaking down deterrence. Nurkin at all 18. China's advanced weapons system are highly prioritized modernization to offset military bounces in Asia. Effective development will constitute a game changer. Special alliances, if it's a development moves with the US, effective countermeasures could reduce China's sense of vulnerability, leading sense that kind of Shannon should take more risk and pursue more aggressively away disputed maritime and regional hotspots. Advanced weapons will spur enhanced proceeding that could drive fast moving conflict. Second best use can contribute to reevaluation of old firm currencies. Weapons could drive a destabilizing arms race. Proliferation of advanced weapons systems could convert advanced actors who feel more compelled to take risks. China's directed energy weapons could proliferate across the region. Proliferation of hypersonic weapons beyond China order could result in strategic forces on hair trigger, ensures global nuclear escalation and accidents. Chinese hypersonic buildup makes effective arms control possible. Whites in 19 years. This event policy turn flexes from one advanced BUD that would account emerging hypersonic missile threats. People could have been if you in place to act nuclear missiles to launch and detect people response to raise their accident wars as well as escalation principally build up with prompt into Pakistan to start to blend out with nuclear arm missiles. European currency would show a prospect of the new race can drive country to limit impending US missiles may spring new interest and bounding missile competition on better race with hypersonic system could decrease traceability amplifying prevention incentives and weaken restraints of proliferation release for the administration's new missiles Putin into targeted treaty could target treaty could limit missiles armed with nuclear warheads tolerance could avert misunderstanding only major modern missile but with people arms control these and always will stubbornly resist Biden constraints only the plan solves goals at all 19 all spectrum remain flat. Taiwan has developed with the Russian Kubernetes control strategy standard defensive shift can use weapons as proposing to blow out 20% of accelerated areas and now involve shifting money out of offensive military capability to encourage transition to defense budget. You should give its funds reasoning the US can and so it's by paying for some of the acquisition of defensive capabilities. Also, this will get by reducing better use offensive capability to defense, reducing the need to invest in hypersonic weapons. Cross 6.
Are you good?
Yep.
Okay. So the plan text says that you would reduce all FMS and DCS that's not aligned with Taiwan's overall defense concept. What would those arms be?
An example would be the Abrams tanks that we're currently selling to them.
Okay. Are there any arms that would not pertain to this, like what you would reduce? Are there any arms that you wouldn't reduce?
So we would reduce the contracts for F-16s, but our argument is that they would be renegotiated in a way that doesn't rip Taiwan off anymore, which is the I believe there's a Stokes evidence and the Ferry evidence.
Wait, so what do you mean they would get renegotiated? Like
contracts would
to resume F-16s in the future?
Because right now the current contracts that we have are not aligned with Taiwan's overall defense concept because they have these offsets built in that are major drains on Taiwan's economy and that are built to advantage United States companies.
So there's the possibility that in the future that Taiwan could get all these arms back?
So for F-16s, yes, they could get F-16s, but the contracts and the contracts are different for the way they get it because we ban all the sales that aren't aligned with the ODC concept. So ones that are scamming Taiwan would not be allowed.
Okay. So the second contention, you talk about how China will get hypersonic missiles if they decide to get semiconductors. What's the internal link between semiconductors and hypersonic?
Semiconductors are key technology that they need to make their hypersonic guidance systems. So if they don't have the semiconductors, it's not possible.
Already prototypes of hypersonic missiles like DF-41 that are already operational. Why do those not some?
Because it's about increased modernization of hypersonics. Because
but obviously they still have the ability to make hypersonics now. Why is that not enough?
Their targeting is not sufficient right now.
Why? It's obviously if countries know that China has the ability to build hypersonics, like why is that not enough to cause an arms race?
Because
like,
they haven't sufficiently modernized all of them. The Chu evidence and the Maduris evidence are all like very good on why semiconductors do matter for overall Chinese modernization.
Yeah, I get that you read evidence that semiconductors matter, but where have you read evidence that says that current levels of Chinese hypersonics are insufficient to cause like
insufficient? Because our entire argument is about as they become more threatening, more developed, etc. That's what causes people to break up. That's the Kine rule evidence, and the Nurkin evidence are also out about breakthroughs in things like hypersonics, which is a brink argument for us.
That's not really answering your question, but that's fine.
It does. It's a brink argument.
Advantage, so what are the incentives that Taiwan has to like not transition the status quo to like the?
I don't understand the question.
Like, why is it that Taiwan isn't like adopting an asymmetric deterrence strategy now?
Yeah, so we've read evidence saying that the like planners within Taiwan are sort of locked into this very expensive way. Also, the U.S. is just blatantly like ripping them off in terms of not supporting the strategy. There's a few other reasons.
Okay, we'll take that. Okay, yeah, and you should just print this. Okay. No. Oh, actually, no, print the whole thing. Yeah.
Yeah, and then.
Okay, we have 931.
I'm sending out the one I'm seeing.
You said 940?
931.
Okay.
Is it cool if we just drop like the prep times in like the chat and we use that as a way to keep track of it? Okay. Okay, cool.
There's 9 off. Case the order of lowest. Did everyone get it?
I haven't gotten it yet. I'm good now. I don't know about Simon. Simon, did you get it? Okay, we're both good.
All right. Anyone not ready? A substantial reduction is 70%, and anything else is only a slight decrease. You're having 16 all along every middle 65 billion, substantial decrease from the 79 billion gold equity to the global limits and gravity. Any aspect of the country or subset of weapons that may be negative possible, and you also better experts Google and research and peer review. I can review on behalf of the Secretary minute before the next on. We have to the U.S. movement to Taiwan erodes the confidence of allies and presumed weakness, which research instability and Chinese suppression blotter 17 of those sales. One of the most visible signs of argument commitment to allies. So the U.S. is providing allies with hard power and including Euro policy such shock with and cause Chinese rushing of the U.S. into the valuable U.S. agreement or the confidence of allies, namely Japan, move forward that their own arms and generally the U.S. is not committed to defense. Defense are rolling American influence for China's rising scale. Sales are more important now than ever, and that causes Japanese officers to strike backwards. 19 Japan, Japanese strikes with decreased confidence in the U.S. Now interpreted as a sign of Tokyo's losing confidence. This could start a reaction that allies develop their own capabilities, increasing instability. The environment is tense as a result of North Korea's nuclear weapons and ENSDN heightening the express complaints and debate. So probably estimating the war future escalation would draw in the U.S. Just bilateral cooperation is support the US and Japan strike with geopolitical efforts. US action to discriminate reliably Japan would move forward with a conventional strengthening the discussion could worsen security and next the government of Australia should advocate a robust crisis management diplomacy and building measures for the people of China and Taiwan and encourage the United States federal government to substantially reduce foreign military sales and terror commercial sales that are not aligned with the United States support of Taiwan. The world even sponsors the counterpart effectively mediates the crisis between China and Taiwan. Australia diplomacy advisor Taylor 20. Canberra's ability to reduce Taiwan crisis really convoluted conventional wisdom is contestable. Constant struggle with Australia ruling the Taiwan strike the government uses the alliance to advocate a series of diplomatic proposals of a major crisis. The world should be more provided. Canberra's advocate robust arrangements avoiding Taiwan crisis and that bolsters Australian foreign policy leadership. Taylor in 2023 crisis management is not controversial for Australia to active and observe foreign policy has not allowed it to drawing up the Taiwan strike crisis. There is no more pressure, no more pressing issue today, and Australian diplomatic leadership for the proposals scenarios of nuclear war. Patience in 1990, diplomacy on enhance Australia's international standing as independent power that can contribute to a peaceful world. Australia has much to gain together further into the strengthening mechanisms of big powers, nuclear political and terror refugees. Australia becomes middle powers and ameliorate the dangers gained by great powers. Next up, reduce use of permanency and certainty. Impermanent or uncertain actions are not probable. Radials 59 sections is reduced does not say that ministerial shall be temporarily suspended. Things like dictionary meaning the words that the diminished order reduced to indicate permanency and the absence sales condition on the target behavior. Voter limits and grants sales may not increase that all countries comply with, which states that all of the dispatch and aspect can impose into the conditions and not having a atypical voter gives specific politics and counterpoints and causes late-breaking debates that favor the next up. The United States federal government should covertly establish a policy that covertly prohibits an attempt to defend Taiwan in the event of a war with China and provide any military technology, funds, or material needed for Taiwan to make the shift to a asymmetric deterrent strategy free of the counterpart sold drawn and solution value of fixing America is less likely to intervene on Taiwan's behalf and enabling Taiwan to defend itself to best of Taiwan's sovereign championship because the higher price value PRC government will take the course time the less likely to try costs are worth bearing. Washington should establish a more routine weapon testing process. And next up. Taiwan is a symbol of democratic resistance to China, and the Marxist is fundamentally immoral and should be rejected as being authoritarian demand. Way into a bill, U.S. also left for Taiwan, China understands the U.S. money Taiwan games on the attack, banning Taiwan superficially are appealing in school because logic, but it is not Taiwan is legit democracy by authorities, state demanding that Taiwan people do not want to banning Taiwan will be immoral and reduce the democratic rule by throwing 23 million people over the barbed wire, and which America is no longer serious about democratization. Other governments would take note of Washington sacrifice how to improve relations with China, work hard at China, and we have a moral obligation to shun China. So Bruce Lewis, 89. If there is a moral order, one has duty by supporting a moral behavior. In order to disintegrate, there will be much more violation of rights when someone violates the moral order. The moral community must respond by replacing path to do a person, even if it's not adequate to change the immoral behavior. Next off. Congress is weighing new sanctions on China in line with COVID-19 rules for two lawmakers on bill to give Trump a power to impose sanctions and accusations that Trump decided the world bill will be ruled out after sanctions back later this month. The future of Trump considered Trump taking away from China's hardliners and refusing to over Taiwan and powers as China's sentiment in Congress to green light new sanctions. Blumenthal and Taiwan will be focused on much frustration representatives due to course final expression of debate about banning the democratic the exact opposite motivation. Congress will start focus on the issue that China poses a new sanctions on China plus future pandemics and economic crisis. The bill 49 rule will see a provocative proposal as America spends on full war and proposals for the evening of America's role as a leader in the world of first offer relation retaliation on Pakistan so the being measured only of the COVID and inviting for retaliation against the U.S. making the world more vulnerable to the pandemic and crisis and impact is extinction dodge 3025 accession to the legal work as a pandemic now is spinning at war at each other rather than public global economic crisis. Any nuclear war will be end civilization and
Yes.
No. Best evidence for China's revision is a plan only green light for the reduction in powers nationalist law. 18 states have instead of domestic claiming that China is motivated by limited interest of Taiwan is risky and dangerous of Chinese nationalism. Beijing movement for concession authorization increasement is likely to make China make right more or less not less dangerous. We have evidence that accommodation encourages more aggressive behavior and Taiwan position that are a sign of American weakness or ability to swing across the issue. China will be positioned a weakening of result from protecting others' interests, market cards at interest. Case. the independence movement is moving. Now China will go far enough to start a war on Taiwan. China re-election in the relationship will begin a statement. China refused to acknowledge China principle. I do not think that you guys will export to China and Taiwan people the better. That's why she does not dare to do so fast. That's why she emphasized peace relation. Her dream is to move on secession under stable ties. They're not looking for and the threat of abandonment of Taiwan's independence movement. 18 abandoning Taiwan will destroy the terms of reassurance to reissue the target statement. In 1998, publicly announced that no support of Taiwan independence is overridden and led to lead to hard in Taiwan's position tension to escalate over Beijing increasing all context accommodation before Taiwan is taking risky political initiatives that would destabilize the strait and Taiwan. Skip the next two parts. China won't risk military action, domestic and international pressure checks. We feel in 20 military action is difficult. Maybe China will play diversity of China build out of problem. They have a Hong Kong closed down economy for truly US. They don't need a crisis with Taiwan's ability to China. They focus on domestic events while taking China's interest to use force now. Expect Beijing to buy this time to ratchet pressure on Taiwan back for using financial pledges. Expect Beijing to wait until conditions are more propitious, especially given the US deters China with Trump. Beijing won't push Mandarin incentive for both sides to de-escalate heat. In 17 relations may be trying to do the escalation relative stability makes accidental war extremely unlikely. China and the US view each other as trade partners. Korea militaries and arms should divide goals. Should let people regard each other with mixed views, lacking preparation and consistency. Leaders have a less incentive to misjudge the situation. The contrary leaders face a strong incentive to describe this manifested in 2001 and 2009. And yeah, next advantage. All causes like Russian DMD, US hypersonic cyber attacks, and precision strike acted 18 evidence such as China president instability depends on primarily on perception of survivability. China modernization efforts are intended to ensure the viability of deterrent face the advance in the US and Russian precision strike and missile defense. China action point to other countries they have their deployed nuclear forces are preparing against cyber attacks crisis instability, market part stability, and there's no impact to hypersonic renewable and even COVID-19. The solution to hypersonic will be developed. China Russian acquisition of hypersonic boats as well as a relation to conventional form of managing such a on the board. The departure from the period where the US had precision capabilities which amplified Russian fury and worked to acknowledge the limitation of hypersonics when used against moving target weapons. Used to lose effectiveness limitation required onboard ground information necessary circuits north of and
last part.
Yeah, and no China and Japan war in the easiest or Senkaku Islands. Fusion 14 China territorial claims are overall war between China and Japan are more than unlikely. East Asian power versus nuclear exchange between the US and China to be catastrophic. Nobody thinks they can win by striking first.
We're gonna take a second to prep.
Do you want a marked version? Oh.
Okay, 9:52.
Do you want a marked version or no?
Oh yeah, yes, please.
I just sent out the marked version.
Okay. Great. Good for cross-ex? Are we good for cross-ex?
Oh yeah.
Okay. Procedural reasons to reject the team.
New apps, not specified agent.
Okay. Net benefit to the Australia counterplan.
It's internal.
Okay. You've read evidence about like abandonment, which is distinct from the recalibration of the plan. What evidence do you have specific to like shifting to the ODC?
Wait, what dissent are you talking about?
Like all of them that you've read.
Oh, okay. So for the Japan dissent, it talks about how ending sales still has the ability to show Japan that the U.S. isn't committed to Taiwan's defense. We can obviously read more specific parts about things like Abrams tanks in the future, but we think that the fact that the app ends those sales for even a short term, for even in the short term, will cause a shock that could disrupt the alliance.
The shunning dissent, the Roy evidence that you're reading again about abandonment. So I guess if we win, that we make Taiwan's strength stronger against China. Does that take the dissent?
Well, okay, so this is a distinction here. Even if Taiwan does end up becoming like having a better deterrence posture against China, that's like irrelevant to the dissad because it's just a
Wait,
signal
why?
of how much the U.S. is willing to support Taiwan.
It's just a signal of how much the US is willing to support Taiwan. So
Yeah.
we're making the argument that we support Taiwan more by giving them
I
better
know,
weapon
but then
sales.
that obviously is not what it looks like to Japan. To Japan, it looks like the U.S.
Whoa, I'm
abandons
talking about the
Taiwan,
shunning.
and
I'm
then
talking about the
Taiwan
shunning
just
dissent.
cooks with it really well. Like,
talking about the
yeah,
shunning
Taiwan
dissent.
deals with the U.S. abandoning it
Okay,
really well, but that still means that the U.S.
I
abandons
have more questions. The advantage counterplan. So I guess does it reduce current contracts?
Does it do what?
Like, does it reduce current contracts?
No.
Okay, so I guess by what process does it provide military tech, funds, materials, etc., to Taiwan to transition?
It could make new contracts or just like give them give
New
them.
contracts, but we're just like giving
Well,
them
like
a
you
bunch
need
of.
new contracts because like
We're just giving them a
like,
bunch of weapons that
yeah,
are asymmetric in nature.
yeah.
Okay. Awesome. The covert counterplan. I guess how does this solve the AFN anyway?
So the argument is that the U.S. will not intervene in a Taiwan-China like crisis that occurs, so it won't escalate.
Okay. Net benefits to this counterplan?
The Japan decide
Just the
and
Japan.
the COVID sanctions decide.
Oh, the COVID sanctions to set. Yeah, I
And
want to
the
talk about
deterrence decide.
and the deterrence to set.
Yeah.
Okay. So actually.
Oh, and I guess also the shunning decide. So basically all the decides. Yeah.
The shunning decide too.
Yeah.
Okay. The case arguments. The card you read about the independence movement. Our internal links are about how China views it as like an easy win. Or they will soon view it as an easy win. So I guess why is this relevant?
So the argument is that like Tai will try to push China for more concessions. Like the Chen evidence says that they will probably lash out with arms and gain more independence as a result of that.
Yeah, 952. Sorry, you didn't read infrastructure, right? Hello? Hello?
They didn't.
Yeah, we didn't read
Yeah,
it. We didn't
sorry.
read it.
Yeah, the mic's far away from us.
Stop prep 525. Okay. All right, did everyone get it? Yo. Everyone get the file? Everyone ready for an order?
Yep.
Okay. Case in the order of the Taiwan War Advantage and then the Taiwan DIB Advantage. Off case in the order of T subs, the 17% definition. The Allies DA, Australia. Oh, sorry. Sorry, it's T subs. T reduce. The Australia counterplan. The defend Taiwan counterplan. The Allies DA. Sanction politics. Deterrence DA. Shunning DA. Does anyone need that order again? Are we good? Awesome. Cool. Lack of shifting to the Taiwan ODC causes extinction. It spills up because it means that Taiwan or China will invade the next 5 years. The window of opportunity now, which means a try or die for the affirmative. They've conceded that the status quo is the worst of all worlds. There's a result in no shift to the shift to doctrine. That creates a mixed strategy which is escalatory and undermines the ability for Taiwan to actually defend itself. They are answering all of the off-case positions wrong. This is not a Taiwan abandonment. This is the opposite. Increasing Taiwan's ability to protect its own sovereignty is obviously something that they would support the Lima line. First, they say that this independence movement now we obviously agree with this. We think that the Tsai re-election means that this this is the right time for preserving independence and creating asymmetric shift. The next argument, the Wang evidence, this does not, it doesn't link to the AF. It's about a total abandonment, which is clearly not the AF. We change the way that the decision calculus and stop ripping Taiwan off. It's obviously something is good. Next, they say that there's no war. Yes, there were. Identities that are pragmatists, but is incentive to reunify the only and made postmodernization when they were confident they could win. That's the Wang and Meister evidence. Cyber election means reunification will be by force. That's the Meister evidence. Their evidence is just terminal impact defense. But obviously, if they try to invade, they will escalate to extinction because we still have the TRA still in place. It means that it causes China to fill in the DIB page. Current sales rip off Taiwan and mean that they can't shift to the ODC and undermine their DIB, which is necessary to reverse brain drain. Stopping this brain drain is the only way to stop the hypersonics develop the line. But then first they say all causes. None of these matters. It's not about intent, but about the ability to actually do it. We resolve this because even if they have the motive, they don't have the means because they still need Taiwanese workers, which is the kind of evidence from the 1AC. They say there's no impact to hypersonic. Yes, the NERC evidence indicates that they're destabilizing. They're destabilized because they decided to change the decision calculus for leaders like Japan and South Korea. The islands argument. We didn't read Eisenkart in the 1AC, but which means it doesn't matter because we still access our conflict because it doesn't assume things like a world of modernization. Also, this probably takes out a high risk of a lot of the dissets. T-subs. We meet the plan reduces status quo sales to Taiwan with asymmetric offsets. We don't fiat renegotiation, but we meet. Alpha sales are likely to increase in the future, but the plan bans that screenshot. The Reynolds evidence on their other T-interp will be our counter interpretation that will defend. Prefer interp. 1, no alpha topical future sales can increase in other areas, but make direct production impossible. 2, justify plans that ban future sales unlimited because infinite future sales and spikes neg links to politics. DIB are specific weapons. 4, ground. They can still read allies fill in DIB conditions counterplan. X squarely as 5 precision plan meanings the standard core proceed to determine legislative intent and arms control. Their interp doesn't say net reduction. The 6 reasonability good is good enough. Heat is a check subs and crowded ace or new F's good. New F's are good. 1 disclosure innovation, only negating the net benefit. 2 encourages a good and increases on the fly critical thinking. 3 reasonability is good enough. They're skew. It's inevitable theory add on a perms. They don't get access to more negative flex under new AF because they should feel defended. Especially they don't get access to new types of counter because the penniless counterplan is abusive no matter what. T Reynolds, we meet this. This is their counter interp because we only is an infinite reduction of status quo sales to Taiwan without asymmetric offsets. We reduce all arms to the permanently meet the ODC. We don't refiat the renegotiation. There's obviously no link to violation of this T argument. Reasonability good is good enough. You can cross-select all of the voters on the T above. A spec. We meet the USFGs and H and American Heritage 2K. The values before the announcement into one of a group 2 our interpretation that the affirmative should also specify most of the resolution. Only predictable argument based on the resolution. Say 3 cross-check checks. They never ask for reasonability. Don't identify dub theory. The Australia counterplan. International fiat is abusive in a voting issue. 1, not predictable. If they're an infinite number of international actors, the outcome never be ready to debate. 2, literature. The negative have to produce solvency evidence as these expanded the planet context of the internal national actors and ensure predictability within the literature. 3, about advocacy. The judge is supposed to be a U.S. policy making, not an international jurisdiction. These type of counterplans make the world peace counterplans and utopia counterplans legitimate. 4, infinitely regressive. They can have as many actors as they want, as well as the ability to fiat object resolution. That allows them to literally fiat out of our advantage to win a small risk of destiny. The debate is never fair or predictable. 5, international organization are uniquely abusive of the actually, they didn't do permutation. Do both. There's no reason why you can't solve the internal net benefit on top of the plan. Permutation to the counterplan. It's like against the insolvency or uncertainty and immediacy obviously aren't competitive. It doesn't solve. They have no evidence that says that the U.S. will agree to the Australian question. It's also only it also links it. It also should only be a question of what the U.S. and Taiwan do. Otherwise, it deletes that doctrine. It doesn't stop status quo sale. 1, RRC leadership organization preference for offensive arms alike acquisition decisive transition. It doesn't increase the cost of war. That's the temple offense. 2, only total shifts. All split the doctrines destroy training and keto operationalization. That's a second event. 3, is for political Russia to violate assure the public. That's clear. 4, next, just adding asymmetric evidence with the absolute objectivity that solely 70 PL. Only the plan solves. Haynes in 418. Taiwan forces to make a new weapons. They would carry absolute shift to doctrine based on conventional warfare. They say, RRC forces to currently retrain and equip invasion. This including popular domestic expected Taiwanese people to have a deterrence. But it's de facto dimension understand and assess your willingness. It definitely doesn't solve the AF because the root cause of all the Southeast Asian conflict is Taiwan. Obviously, the AF can overcome that, which means that there's no risk to defend Taiwan kind of plan. Permutation do both. It shields link to the shield of links and then the benefit because it means because it's just a question of the impact. Permutation to the counterplan. Conditionality is voting issue causes 2AC time and scratch you. Dispo solves all of their often doesn't solve the doctrine stuff. You can cross the from the Australia counterplan. You can't solve the terminal impact. I said that it's about drawing in North Korea. It's also a drawing in North Korea, which obviously means they can't solve. It also links to the benefit because it would result in a change in arms sales, which clearly changes the alliances. If it links to the AF and best, the counterplan splits training and doctrine, makes effective deterrence and possible. And second, goes to 18. No city infinite butter power time was considered because the population of everything related to China. Therefore, to invest heavily in conventional and unconventional force structure and military use, not time to train. But these many capable of adopting works and significant training and doctrinal training in Taiwan. Force planning able to decide weapons. It means to continue to focus on high-end plotting. Second, goes 18. And the recommended bitches modernization plan. Yet Taiwan for planning remains focused on high-end platform. The the defense spent on like supporting modernization, fielding of high and clever military political leaders, emphasize diesel submarine fighter jets, they destroy that these are capable of truly capable of the asymmetric force structure, time leads to see military force as political instrument. I'll mark the card there. Covert fails, false 18 leaks. The guys nervous department have been full of leaks since they when they more than most administration. There have been constant rumors that obviously means it links to the net benefit. The alliance's DA1 no link. The plan is a clear signal of U.S. commitment to the viable deterrent strategy instead of status quo ambiguity increases resolve and ally conflict. 2. They would never doubt security commitment because never doubt security commitments because of a change in Taiwan and better deterrent structure. U.S. follow-ups ensures resiliency. Glazer 15. But he considered overstated state nature to Japan and the alliance follow stronger commitments and integration of military. The U.S. is the killer rationale. The U.S. to take over the action to Japan to offset to the U.S. increase forces to defeat and joint planning high levels to China power go to the convention and work hard to the alliance and not a benefit. 3. This is offense for us. Sub-point 8 pivoting effective to turn increases security capability. Goal 15 myth that any reform to commitment to collapse the entire structure to the fault to use strategic position or strengthen the adjustment which alpha based in Taiwan and Korean impotence in actual the alliance is strengthened by reforming the means of the golden conformity with regional power. Such reform actually help the credibility of American myths. Point B hybrid Sunny's hypersonic build is the most likely trigger for impact scenario. That's the one he's in working at prioritize for the F4. No unique is Obama Bush both made the massive cancellation of offenses to Taiwan in the past. That's the green reference. 5 no impact unique impacting the China modernization already collapses credibility. Fed and 18 credibility weakened in the token despite the preservation of American due to the increase of voting and ability to protect the military power effect. Go to China develop a sophisticated anti-access try to make a military opposition increasingly costly versus credibility commitments. Okay, I'll move on. Sanctioned politics. No reason why the AF has to be Congress. Obviously, can be done solely by executive because arms sales come from the DSEA. Fiat solves the DA. Obviously, mean the plan would pass. We solve the DA better. AF solves the combination of China, and the plan would be super popular. Extremely pro-Taiwan. Bush 19 always actually committed pro-Taiwan. That Taiwan has a lot of support in Congress. It reflects a connection between American communities in Congress, and there's no bill passed before May 4th, because that's when until Congress is out. And natural pandemic no cost human in Far Cry 70. Natural pandemic elected cost human in less than 4% of 50 numerical weight dispersed another fact. In mid-hour space and numerous dispersed capable of rational response. Cut the card there. Deterrence. He had no link. When I see straight turns, the deterrence is collapsing now because the Chinese military is monetization. Asymmetric strategy keeps getting keeping its observated. 2. The plan offsets ensures their signal resolve. Turner 16 technically assistant defense cooperation signal. Support medicine deterrence values aircraft cover. Just 3 though. Plan only reduces the useless expensive weapons like Abrams that have no containment value with China. No that's cost. Fun of the U.S. 6 leading maritime exercise. The base signal U.S. committed to the region. 5. The plan costs the Chinese doubling. Yeah, cross-apply everything on this to shunning. The shunning disad. Right now, the status quo sales are stripping off Taiwan. Obviously, mean that China was going to gain ground, and means that the only way to solve this is through the after. The second we link to this, we increase support for Taiwan. We bring it in line with the ODC, which means we have less incentive to integrate with China, which means that this is a straight turn disad solved by the AF because it increases support for Taiwan, stopping the rip-off. It's not unique because we are not shunning now, but the AF would result in that effect. Yeah.
All right. Theoretical reasons to reject the team.
International fiat bad, condo bad.
Okay. Wait, what page was Condo on?
Condo is on the China, the defend Taiwan kind of fund.
All right. The on the shunning disad, the straight turn, like, what is the link turn? Increasing support of Taiwan.
Obviously, increasing support for Taiwan means that there is a right, it's a less support of China. We are winning that the status quo is ripping off Taiwan, which allows secession to China in the region. Obviously, it means that would like change that. Also, this Roy card is literally an AF card. It says abandoning Taiwan would be immoral. Obviously, we're not abandoning Taiwan. That is the fundamental problem with this negative strategy.
The deterrence disad, you say that like deterrence, no, only an asymmetric strategy keeps China contained, but then you also say that the plan causes Chinese doubling down.
I didn't read the Monacan card, but it doesn't matter. Asymmetric capabilities are the only way to deter China because it stops the invasion and reduces time, which means that the U.S. can come to their defense faster.
All right. Did you wait? The alliance disad, the Hoover evidence. What Trump action is it about?
I didn't read the Hooper evidence.
Did you know? Really?
No.
Wait, then can you send a marked version, or was it just those 2 cards that you didn't?
No, I didn't read 5. Sorry, on the Allies DI, I didn't read. I didn't read Hooper. I didn't read Lenoska. I didn't read Rohrig. On the other page, and then on the deterrence DI, I didn't read the Monacan card.
All right, and those are the only cards you didn't read.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. I guess I have a question about the Faton evidence. You read Faton. What does Chinese modernization have to do with Japanese like offensive strikes?
Wait, sorry. Can you ask the question again? I couldn't hear that.
What does Chinese modernization have to do with Japanese like development
Right.
of?
Obviously, the more that China modernizes, the less stable that the East Asia region becomes, which means the more likely it is that Japan will develop nuclear weapons or change their constitution.
Wait, which card did you read about North Korea in the YC?
I think it's a Nurkin card, but it's in a couple of the cards.
Okay.
Sorry, Newsham. Sorry, it's the Newsham card, not the Nurkin card.
There's like 8 seconds.
Okay. How much prep do you have left? Nine something or other? 9:25.
Oh, we stopped prep. We have 8:21 left.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm sending out the cards now.
Sorry, did you send the doc?
Oh no, I'm like sending it out now.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you. Wait, can you get my clothes for a second? Is everyone good for an order?
I still don't have the doc yet.
Okay.
Yeah, me neither.
Can we get an order?
Oh, yeah. So the order is the Australia counter plan, the advantage counter plan, or like the covert counter plan, the China sanctions system, then deterrence, then the industrial base advantage.
Sorry, can you get that one more time, please?
Yeah, so it's the Australia counter plan, the covert counter plan, China sanctions system, then deterrence, then industrial base.
I'm good.
Okay. International Field is the Australian counterplan is bid against the Taiwan and won. Its estimation the counterplan is a valuable contribution to Taiwan's solution. NASA 20 days removal process to blame the Taiwan needs to be valuable contribution to solution for the species questions, and it's the only way they consider actions outside of the U.S. and weigh the cost and benefits of different countries. Fairness is the only interrelation education through its research skills and content outweighs fairness because it's only interlinked to its more real world crises like Taiwan involve more than just the U.S. and China. 3 is that Lynch takes the use solvency burden prevents us from using useful or unfeasible actions that guarantees office and debatability towards and resisting all international counterplans. It's a Eurocentric limiting discussions only the U.S. should do reach of the American exceptions that we avoid the worst counterplans. International counterplans like have North Korea attack South Korea would be excluded by separate theory arguments like the opposite of the resolution. Also, the Aaron Mag and unlimited atomic literature consistent from reading about solution lack of net growing currency basis defects makes atomic shortly advised how to levels our argument levels the playing field reject the argument out to team now. I will go to the counterplan proper counterplan tells the entire evidence Australia be the leading figure mediating the Taiwan crisis by promising that the U.S. end arms and defeat sanctions with China. That benefit outweighs Australian middle power leadership catalyzes co-op to solve North nuclear proliferation, climate change, terror, and great power wars. Permutation to both does not solve the net benefit. Independent Australian diplomacy is key to enhance their middle power leadership. That's a Taylor and Haitian subject of permeates that the app happens while Australia is still proposing its plan. Makes Australia look like it's following U.S. action and negates the independence of the same. Australia's federal state sound like the same for the U.S. and producing different aid opposed to the state investors with confident 20% to country funding and confident Australia also with the state government state we benefit the world is with the independent federal state having the rules and the problem content the U.S. It also relegates Australia to junior power status. Patients say that the different use of the great power that focuses on the little junior power to do the junior power with the use of the great power to the Chinese nation about today. The great power of the Australian nation that urged Australia work for the China Australia taking the permutation to the counterplan is severance. We don't feel U.S. issue action is the better because it needs to act on moving target kills fairness. The next target is that the U.S. says no, which is the only real solvency deficit to the counterplan. The U.S. says yes, one is impure. So Taiwan Strait crisis proves that Australia played a major role in de-escalating crisis because the U.S. took their role seriously. That's a Taylor evidence too. Is that Australia's PM is Trump's favorite. Regarding 19 more than operations opportunities to connection to play with the papers are usually early, easy familiar. That connection translates to policy favors. Granted 19, there's nothing like a piece of the Ukraine debate with the conservative one, the answer to the conservative Morrison case the process for Trump. The reason now is key. Australia's incentives lifts the burden off the U.S. and Trump is not wedded to the status quo. Car 20. Washington can't hold so many conversations with the Irish Republic and Australia's allies. America's allies with the U.S. for working on overseas to kill rules. To be the pressure the U.S. maintained the opposite pressure and easily opening for Australia issue for rules and access. Trying to to the story for resolve the idea that she benefits of operation Trump's cities consider the reality of small parts to depend on the relationship. Their next group all of their next arguments. None of this actually applies because our argument is that they can't win. Results of the app happening because Australia is able to convince the U.S. to do the plan. The other comment. Content is good, one is excellence, and unlimited topic literature consensus for early resolution and lack of net ground privacy needs recent feedback makes the topic shortly applies to its innovation debaters are risk averse. The opposite storage is testing new 6 strategies outside of our comfort zone best internally to research. 3 strategic thinking makes them different from both the left and the right over a wide variety of information, forces them to consider argument interaction. No skew, one is diminishing marginal utility, institutional advocacy, at plus strategic value to use this inevitable team by listeners primary case for dispatchers or office decks will just add place to account for forces of innovation or strategic thinking and they read a new app. Counter transition B won't get counter if you don't read a new app. This app. This waste sanctions on China makes disease spread and economic collapse more likely as the U.S. and China retaliates as Odell evidence goes nuclear Odell 49. A region for the overseas China versus the China power sensitive to resolution where the evidence to be such a completely escalated or to retaliation with the U.S. with LB being from a pandemic the other countries Europe the war with China recently reasons of public turns China war one is the disease and economic decline makes grid power was inevitable increase in the instability for last year, that's the Dodge evidence too, is that U.S. China robbery coronavirus and everyone's claiming that U.S. China war inevitable stem for a lot of coronavirus and the worst secret global economic consequences of the crisis, ongoing crisis of the U.S. and China, the greatest great power with higher any time in the 1930s. That also turns the other advantage because the terminal impact is just a bunch of countries in Asia going to war with each other, which is terminally inevitable in a world where U.S. and China literally enter a great power war. The first argument is about how there's no link because the app does not have it through Congress. So due to link to it here ending arms to Taiwan and Paris Congress to backlash by pressing hardline sanctions aimed at exclusively viewing Taiwan, China through a negative light. That's Blumenthal evidence, specifically ending FCC's caused intense bipartisan opposition in Congress. While in 2018, Congress is about party issues with the light FCC just as Taiwan had any more than interest in intense bipartisan opposition for the arms system of the figures using. They independently proposed the Taiwan lobby club. They've seen Taiwan is policy to picture with the Republican Party Taiwan because they since lobbying going with the army of lobbies to make sure the Congress with the overseas with the RTA lawmakers just for Taiwan. They say that they could be other powers, they could be other branches. Our link is not about congressional debates, but of shifting congressional attitudes. The app is a concession that empowers hardliners to push for sanctions, even if it's true that the app results in Taiwan getting a better deterrent posture. That's not how members of Congress see it, which means that they'll definitely backlash to say the plan is popular. This is a neg card. It says that Taiwan is popular in Congress, but now that ending arms sales to Taiwan is popular, that shows that they will backlash to the app. The pandemic's impact, we're not going for it as a terminal impact. We're saying it causes war, deterrence. Independence space will be narrowed now to avoid China's provocations or aggression to the app. Makes independence much more likely that links the app that they make were more likely. They're arguing about how because war peace doesn't make any sense. Do we have encouraged Taiwan will conclude that a war is preferable to any settlement which will cause them to start a conflict with China. That's the China evidence. They will use all of the new technology that they will go through asymmetric deterrence capabilities or develop offensive weapons to be able to lash out to China because they think that the U.S. no longer has their back. It's a matter of Taiwanese perceptions that their evidence simply doesn't respond to Taiwan. Will use this measures easily to now more citizens are by Taiwanese for identification of the U.S. China bargain. What reason this is serious? How do you think this is serious? They will like to find the legal messages just to operations. Also, there was absolutely no reason why a U.S.-China war is inevitable in the status quo, or why a Chinese invasion is inevitable in the status quo. Why? The one is that China will be patient. China in 2020. Thai victories that have been around these major constitutional. I don't think we are actually resulting in resistance. Thai victory will not direct patient ability. Actually, abuse of force. The law charges the having was of the ignorance and use of behavior having abuse of ability to be because the police has Hamish on his side. Also, they warn about how deterrence will break down. If you actually read the card, it never actually says that deterrence watches will inevitably break down. Just as that China might want to attack in the future, but that isn't. But the Huangin evidence obviously indicts this. Also, regardless of their internally, China will not attack domestic problems like corona, economic shutdown, and friction, which gives the U.S. And with the U.S. gives China a full plate, and they can't handle another crisis in Taiwan. That's a fallacy. I mean, they will be more likely to use economic and diplomatic pressure. Also, the thesis of the dissatisfying North Korea will not attack Greece. They have Korea's defensibility and the but permanent with security, allies response strategy. The conversations with the Asia versus the Hello versus the basis of using the conversations to your problem with the possibly an issue of North Korea is to maintain a true support not aggression. That takes up the scenario of North Korean escalation. U.S. China war will also not escalate that to heat up. It's one that they view each other as treat parties. Two is that there's limited public support. Three is that between parties is preservation consequences in U.S. China relations not request for relationship war that problem neither U.S. or China from parties of internationalization with right alternating to preservation relations like how to be not reckless for the current reckless now the industrial basis of that there is Russian ICBMs, U.S. Hypersonics and cyber attacks and precision strike are all causes. This all makes a arms race in the status quo likely because the U.S. has already developed hypersonics, which is that other countries will inevitably develop them, which is a conceded world. Also, there's no hypersonics that is available. Evidence points that they increase pieces a new form of MAV that stops war too, so they're useless against moving targets, which makes them susceptible to microwave damage. Two is that hypersonics can maneuverable, which limits strikes force every two susceptible to point defenses internal play. When they see the team, M78 defenses to the breach, you gotta be good for the point defenses internal so by also developing equals routine loss resistance to the base matters internal play. Also, no Sino-Japanese crisis scenario in the ECS. And the view evidence points that neither side wants a new war. Two is that Japan and China have high level security channels to be tensions. Those channels fall for Panda 15. Japan and China resume the high level security channel with the maritime double and Japan bases with any long at the ECS officials that use China as a hot list utilizing Senkaku Islands for the card. There are also finished Vietnam evidence here. China has a no class I will finish the Vietnam evidence here. China has a no class policy with the islands as especially in like Japan. China is born with the regime for the basically over China is not interested in seeing whether it's military when he's just shooting because they say decided time to have a war. To the credit war.
Okay, are you ready for cross-X?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay, let's talk about the. Sorry, let me say sorry. Talk about the counterplan for a sec. I guess the way that you're beating the permutation seems to be twofold. First is that this junior partner status card, but this partner status card says that the partner status is low now.
Yeah. So
why doesn't the perm solve that then?
Australian soft power and middle power diplomacy is low, but the counterplan is able to reinvigorate it. And it's saying that the
right. Why does perm do both mean that they're? Where does this card say that the policy would relegate them to junior partner status? Why
So
couldn't they
it
stand on
talks
their
about
feet?
how- yeah, so it talks about how, well, first of all, it defines what a junior partner is, and then it says that those junior partners will become a medicine.
But that links to the counterplan. Wait. The line in your card says the junior partner will be expected to support the big powers' foreign and defense strategies. The counterplan supports the U.S.'s foreign and defense strategies. How does this not?
No, the counterplan has Australia take the lead and force the U.S. to do a policy, which means that Australia.
But it is in support of U.S.'s defense strategy.
No, wait, what? Wait, I'm confused.
The cards warrant is that you become a junior power if you support somebody else's defense strategy. Obviously, the U.S. supports the plan.
This is saying that it's only going to happen if Australia decides to not make independent decisions. The counterplan literally forces Australia.
But it's not an independent decision because they're using it off. But they're basing it off a U.S. defense strategy.
At that point, it would be the U.S. following Australia's command and not the other way around.
Okay. And then the first thing is that like the time frame differential. What's the link to this?
Well, so this is sort of what I was talking about earlier. It's that because the permutation would have the F and the counterplan happen simultaneously, it means that Australia would have no way of leading the foreign policy discussion and forcing the U.S. to pass a certain policy.
Hey, what are all your warrants? What are all the warrants for international fiat good?
Sorry, what?
What are all the warrants for international fiat good?
One was education. The counterplan is an important contribution to Taiwan scholarship, and that is the only way that we consider actors outside of the U.S. weigh costs and benefits. Fairness is only an internal link to education. Proves research skills and content outweighs. It's also more real world because crises like Taiwan involve more than the U.S. and China. The literature checks abuse, rejecting all international counterplans or Eurocentric.
Where have you read a card that says that that Trump will say yes?
Oh, we read two cards.
Yeah, the Grattan card.
The Grattan evidence talks about how.
So the Grattan card is specific to Middle East freedom of navigation. Here, hold up.
Second is the CAR evidence that says that right now the U.S. is in a unique position where Trump is not attached to the status quo, which means that if Australia is able to convince him that another proposal would be better in improving certain ties.
So the Grattan evidence is about Middle East policy and steel and aluminum tariffs. Where does it say that would work for Taiwan?
Well, that doesn't matter. Like, if he can make concessions and like favors in those areas, he can also do it for Taiwan.
We're gonna take prep 525 starting now.
He said international fiat limit, right? Okay. Merci. Do you think you can finish it?
Stop prep at 4:30.
The order is the shunning disad, then the relations disad.
Can I get the order one more time?
Shunning disad.
Yeah.
Then the alliance disad. Anyone not ready? Cool. Shunning this side, we're not going for an extinction always monster, so existential mitigation may be a dominant priority. Future generation matter in proportion to the numbers that will immense benefits. A small reduction in the probability and always immense benefits. The straight turn doesn't have an impact, means the flow is washed even if they win. Like this, the relations.
This that outweighs offensive strikes with nuclear cause China that escalated war in the or ECSN cause North Korea to retaliate and preempt attack elsewhere where this turns case military autonomy and relations that make war inevitable. Facts on 19. The alliance mitigated security development by guaranteeing each other's survival of our military and military autonomous Japan would allow China the actual subjugate military to develop positive alliance and incubate over on those side of Japanese relations deteriorate. US-China relations are undermined by recognition as BC plus autonomous Japan raising positive military class with China and ECS increase the likelihood of a great power conflict. In turns, there's a first advantage because we're more likely to go into a war after allies like Japan use offensive strikes out of nowhere. And it turns the second advantage because a nuclear war would destroy Taiwan's economy. It's a much more illegal internally than something like semiconductors, which is the line by line. They say that the link, there's no link because the U.S. will still signal that they commit, but I'll do the link debate here first. The first thing is appeasement. China right now allies on the edge. The U.S. concession on Taiwan was that shockwaves through the region by showing that they won't stand up to China anymore, which signals that the U.S. will not defend our allies against Chinese expansion. That was blunder. Taiwan is key. Our allies link Taiwan to overall deterrence. B16 Taiwan is just isolated against much more question of future security order failures to blend the item giving the mission to credibility of its leadership. Overwhelmingly the views that defense of Taiwan remains critical. Taiwan is a key partner in galaxy as Taiwan is directly linked to the U.S. leadership role with Taiwan to work for Taiwan with the credibility of U.S. extended deterrence and deal a major blow to U.S. leadership credentials. The second is reliability. Any arms sales are Japanese and Korean confidence. The U.S. has changed our arm policy regarding Taiwan for 40 years, and the act would be a massive shot that signals on reliability. That was belong to Japan, whose Taiwan as its soulmate. Moscow 50 Taiwan strategic importance for military, economic, and humanitarian as a standpoint is clear. Japanese would look at Taiwan as a moral and political soulmate of Obama places Taiwan as the epicenter of America's commitment to the region. U.S. credibility is low. Tied into Taiwan and weakening American result. Taiwan was significantly undermining credibility throughout the region. Among allies, other countries will place America's commitment on Taiwan as a bellwether of U.S. reliability and arms. To Taiwan will reassure allies that U.S. will stand up to China and that they are committed to the Indo-Pacific strategy. Thompson, 19 Trump has sold Abrams tanks and missiles to Taiwan. Notification makes it clear that Taiwan is not trade bait items, not in the military balance, nor change the political dynamic. Making commitment scale is also an indication to the allies in the region about U.S. commitment to stand up to China on behalf of the valid partners under the Pacific strategy, which emphasizes improving capabilities of allies. They next argument they say that Japan won't doubt the U.S., but any risk of the link is enough to go for us and proves that this doesn't matter. Glacier is definitely wrong anyway. Backing up Taiwan, backing away from Taiwan collapses credibility, even if Taiwan is a different type of ally. Easily 16 abandonment of Taiwan would be a greater shock than the 2008 financial crisis because it would contradict U.S. policy of sin of permission rather than motion. Glacier says that dynamics would be avoided if leaders clarify why those countries are different alliances are based not only on TV but on shared values and public support, reliability, and process behind the alliance cooperation. The next argument they say that it will make the plan makes Taiwan stronger, but winning the link debate will disprove your offense. Ask yourself at the end of the day whether the plan will benefit or hurt relations. The discard is about perception, so it doesn't matter if Taiwan gets stronger because Japan will still see it as abandoning Taiwan. It will look like Taiwan is doing really well with the U.S. abandonment, but Japan will still be concerned, which takes out any risk of their offense. Next subpoint they talk about hypersonics. This was answered on case. There's no impact date. Next argument they say that the links are not unique, but remember, Bush and Obama were from the past. Now Trump's in office. It doesn't really matter, and other factors are relevant. U.S. pressure on China is the foundation of the alliance. Challenge at every at all 19. China is the central focus of the war between the U.S. and Japan. Beijing asserted forcefully challenged Japan territorial claims and Taiwan confronting this rights members as a major anchor to the alliance. U.S. Japan strategy are closely aligned regarding acknowledging the U.S. strategic competition and sheer concern and because this card is 1 year more recent. There are all of the reasons why relationships. The last argument they read is that there's a patent evidence saying that the impact is not unique. First, we've read an article that Fatten wrote a year later on the overview, which proves that Fatten definitely thinks that there is a credible risk of the impact. And second, Japan hasn't gone autonomous yet, but they're still on the cusp. In 1990, there's not an advocate for Hamas to use military power. Conservatives argue that using the language of endurance rate rather than waging at Japan decide whether to interrogate with the U.S. or its capacity to tour without help. The state as well. Tokyo has been clear that perception has driven closer to the U.S. Unpredictable president could easily of an expectation. Mark the card expectations and. Right, should I just continue? Yeah.
Wait, read this.
And
very smooth.
One's credibility for our reassurances don't matter. In 14, U.S. action under the credibility of commitment force announced the Pacific doctrine for providing assurances that the U.S. will not continue scaling South Korean policymakers were uncertain whether policies might easily change as a result of this uncertainty surrounding credibility. So Korean decision makers continue to develop nuclear weapons.
Can we get that card? Can we get that card?
out?
Yeah, she's gonna send that card, and I didn't read Basu.
How much? Wait, 430. Okay, I'll start it when I get the card. Okay, starting. $227. It should be sent. The order is going to be sorry, need to mute myself in Discord. The case page, so the deterrence, advantage, Kelly did all like the advantage stuff on the disad, so I'll just do it all there because that's where I float it. The hypersonics advantage, the Australia counterplan, China sanctions disad, Japan disad. Is everybody ready? Try die for that because Taiwanese deterrence is failing in the status quo escalates to nuclear war because the US gets drawn in when China invades and results in North Korean diversion conflict. The Chinese overconfidence have reserves for miscalculation that the cunning of minutia evidence the plan solves it recalibrates Taiwan's strategy by reducing weapons that don't align with a strategy following a more effective asymmetric defense. Only we have evidence to indicate that escalation is inevitable absent the ability to deter. This link turns all the disadvantages that they go for. Now they make their mimic attack more likely. It doesn't make any sense because the increased Taiwan's deterrence posture by give them asymmetric weapons. Current weapons are insufficient. Our evidence that they're easily destroyed by Taiwan and can fail to enact sufficient cost upon China. The offensive weapons of Taiwanese aggression obviously no no link because that evidence doesn't actually talk about the specific weapons of the plan. And if we were to increase Taiwan's defense posture, it would be able to resolve that by flipping that warrant with a plan. Now the invasion, China won't wait because it says in the next few years there's unique pressures on Xi to want to invade, and like the anniversary of the CCP, things like pressure on him, which means that he wants to invade. And the Wong evidence is they have strong incentives to want to invade because of territorial interests, but they'll hold back if they are sufficiently deterred. That is just the next card that they also made. The NOCA war, obviously the NOCA escalation is a part of our impact scenario because if there was a war, China, they would have a choice to divert the economics reason. Yes, China war, Wong evidence because they have key territorial interests, which means that there's things like miscalculation. That means that even if they don't want the conflict to start out in the first place, it doesn't matter because there's still an incentive to want to attack on accident. Now the hypersonic advantage, yes, is key. We have to stop Chinese hypersonic development, otherwise it causes extinction, that disables and causes massive regional arms raising in Chinese aggression maritime hotspots, places like India and Pakistan, which also escalates independently, so they're not answer the plan solves because it recalibrates Taiwan's defense face to not scam them as much anymore. And the hypersonics, which are going to China right now, the argument they've got all causes. Obviously, we solved them because we saw back for Chinese development. They obviously, even if they have the intent, they're not able to do so. There's no hypersonics uniquely escalatory because they're aggressive in maritime hotspots. Yes, the signal is able to overcome because it's not a question of actual capabilities of hypersonics, but their ability to be foreseen as something that causes massive extinction. Because when China gets them more capable, they'll cause extinction. SCS complex stuff, not going for it. Can see the push up evidence. Yeah, Australia counterpoint. International fiat is illegitimate. It steals the entirety of the affirmative. It's infinitely aggressive because any impact center that we have, they can just fiat to have some countries cooperate about it, or have an impact center with China. They can just fiat that China doesn't go to war in the first place, which solves the entirety of the affirmative. They're not pretty, which is that you should reject it. The education argument that they are making is nonsensical. Disadvantage to solve it. There's no reason you can't learn about international countries outside the other actors' argument. Obviously, they can't solve it because it's solved by things like disadvantages. It's not just an internal like fairness outweighs. It's something that drives us to do research in the first place. So since they make it impossible for the affirmative to win, they should lose. The most real world turn. U.S. politicians can't fiat Australia or countries in the other countries in the first place, which means that they are less real world. The lit checks up base obviously they can't because they just find anything saying a country should do something related to arms sales, they'll be able to get a solvency advocate for it, which means that this is awful for pedagogy. But it's actually the topic is neg bias because you get the entirety of the block. Now the counterpoint can't solve the entirety of the affirmative. Nobody cares. Japan would say, hey, Australia would say, hey, China, let's work together. But mediation can't solve because China still has massive incentives to want to invade. They've read no evidence saying that the mediation will actually work. Permutation do both. It's not mutually exclusive. We could do the counterpoint, and then the affirmative. It's something that would still manage that the plan happens. They can't solve the internal net benefit because there's leadership now within Australia, which is what their evidence actually says. Or there's a bunch of all causes, like how there's this one thing. There's no reason why it would end up spilling over to other places. The U.S. doesn't say yes. They just read generic evidence. They don't have any evidence specific to arms sales. And with drop the evidence from the one you see about how there's economic incentives that make the U.S. wants to rip off Taiwan right now in the status quo. Rip off Taiwan right now in the Taiwan in the status quo, which means that they're U.S. would obviously just say no. They read evidence about sort of Trump and Australian PMs, but obviously he likes the PM. That doesn't mean that he's going to do everything that it actually says. The now key card has just answered no, but the Chinese saying disadvantage they can't turn it because broader relations are going to be messed up. But deterrence is the thing that prevents that turn building really bad. They can't turn our effects in America. There's no reason they'll just randomly start striking if there's tension right now because the status quo disproves that argument. It's terminally not needed because there's aggression against China right now. It's not inevitable because they're deterred from war right now. The Taiwan argument they're reading about backlash. Obviously, they've missed a part of the one you see. The contract renegotiation process means that it's perceived as something that helps Taiwan to support their defense zero phase. It's not abandonment. None of their evidence is specific to the affirmative, which means you can just throw it out there, provoking the Taiwan lobby, etc. All that stuff. They don't have evidence specific to ripping Taiwan, which means that this is a link turn argument for, which means that this is a link turn argument for us. The Japan disadvantage. There's no unique for any of their offensive scenarios. Now let's try to die for the affirmative because war is inevitable right now in the status quo, which obviously turns all of their impacts. Now the disadvantage at the top, the no link argument. They last our evidence said we would assure them and let them know about our strategy, which takes out the entirety of their link. And after entirely is a reason why this doesn't make any sense. The link turn argument is also true. The Goldstein evidence says that if we were to reform our commitments to be stronger against places like China, it would be perceived as strengthening the alliance in the first place. That we turn it, and their offense is not unique. China is the military modernization means that Japan doesn't feel our assurances are credible right now, which means that the affirmative is free to recalibrate our assurances. All the cards that they've read are arguments for us because it's reasons why we should be able to defend Taiwan more. The only way they can sort of get out of this is a card they read that says Abrams tanks. It says Abrams tanks. That doesn't mean that they can solve it broadly because we have things that would recalibrate the defense strategy broadly. None of the evidence ties it directly to what Japan actually views as being key. Now, the Fed evidence does not go their way. It says that that's a reason why Japan might adopt autonomy, which is just our argument. There will be autonomy in the status quo. The plan is a thing that shores the commitment. It means that that doesn't happen.
I think we had 820. Did any of you all have a different number? Okay, then 820. All right. What was the first argument you said on the Japan's side? I didn't catch it.
Yeah, it's terminally impact. It's not unique because war is inevitable right now, which would obviously turn the disadvantage.
Okay. What was the argument you made after that?
So militarization, or sorry, the link turn, and that we're a recalibration of the. You would assure places like Japan about what our strategy was, so they would know what was going on.
Oh. Wait, can I use the restroom before I start my speech? Okay.
I'm gonna use the restroom too.
Okay. The order is the Japan decide, the Australia counterplan, the other decide, then the deterrence advantage, then the the industrial base advantage.
I'm good.
Okay.
The design ways of conventional strike capability turns all of their offense based on terminally inevitably gives us an external scenario in regional wars that will cascade throughout the region for years. First is it turns all their Taiwan scenarios about North Korean and Chinese conflicts because a Japanese conventional strike operation is inherently more dangerous, causes countries like Japan, causes countries like China, as well as North Korea to lash out irrationally, which makes all their impacts terminally inevitable. Two is for hypersonic speed have basically conceded the fact and evidence and thesis of the decide that arms racing in the region is only possible in a world where the U.S. decides to reduce their security commitment. In other words, Japan will not get things like offensive weapons or offensive strike capabilities, which means that this is the link alone turns this advantage, but we also turn the terminal impact because it becomes terminally inevitable in a world where everyone in the East Asia literally goes to war with each other. Now, their first argument is that it's not unique because their war is inevitable in the status quo. Most of this will be contested on case, but you should frame this through the fact that our magnitude of the wars that we create are much greater, because when Japan has a rearm capability, that is the only scenario when China will decide to lash out at Japan. Otherwise, there's no reason why Japan will enter the arms race. Also, in a world where Japan is also an autonomous power, in addition to China, Japan, and North Korea, and the United States, it obviously means that we have a larger conflict going on. Now, on the link debate, their only hope of winning this is winning some risk of a link turn, but you should filter this through both of the conceded links. One is appeasement. This is super important because it concedes that a warrant and the blunder evidence that says the unreliability concerns will matter now more than ever because China is trying to expand its influences in the region, encroaching upon Japanese territory now, which voids the explanatory power of all of their examples and all their cards were written in 2015, because it shows that the U.S. backing down on our allies right now will be inherently more destabilizing than it ever was before. When the U.S. ends arms sales to Taiwan, it signals that the U.S. will not come to Taiwan's defense. Yes, it might be true that Taiwan will get a better deterrence capability, but countries like Japan will fear that the U.S. will just leave them to their own accord to try to create their own defense capabilities instead of actually actively defending them, which is sort of the point. Two is reliability. The Moscow evidence was straight up dropped so that Japan views their own destiny and their fate as soulmated to Taiwan, which means that whatever happens to Taiwan, they think will also happen to them, which means that if the U.S. ends arms sales to Taiwan, Japan will, in the short term, think that the U.S. will also end arms sales to them, which is enough to outweigh all of their arguments. Now, their first argument is that they're a link turn because it makes deterrence capability stronger. One is the fact that, once again, this card uses examples from the Cold War, does not take into account the fact that China is more aggressive than ever and Japan is more sensitive than it's ever been. Two is the fact that our dissent links are about Japanese perception, which means that even if it's true that the U.S. thinks that its deterrence posture is improving in the future, that is not how Japan sees it. Japan sees it as the U.S. backing out of the region and denying our credibility concerns. Three is the bleak evidence, which is completely conceded. It was a defense of credibility theory, which is an indictment of the Goldstein evidence, says that when South Korea saw that the U.S. was reducing its influence in one region, the U.S. was unable to recuperate it in other regions, which clearly proves our credibility theory. It's true. Their next argument is that the Glacier evidence doesn't make sense. One is that the Easley evidence is much better, since the Glacier does not assume the fact that abandoning Taiwan is such a great shot to Japan that none of this will actually matter. Two is the fact that bleak evidence says that once credibility ends, other assurances do not matter. South Korea proves that when the U.S. drew down commitment in one area, the U.S. was unable to recuperate it after they showed assurances. Now, the next argument is that assurances are low. Now, that is not true. We have read more recent patent evidence that says that the alliance is on the brink, but Japan has not gotten offensive strike capabilities yet. And the Shanlin and Aber evidence says that the only factor that matters in the alliance is whether or not the U.S. is actively deterring China, which can only deterring China by protecting their allies, which can only be done through the Australia counterpoint. Concede big terms, international POs of region should reject the argument of the team. Decide concede defense, not going for deterrence. China will be patient and will not go to war. The field evidence is much better since China has too many domestic issues like coronavirus, the economy of the U.S., etc. They have not answered any of these warrants, which means that they're more likely to default to economic crisis and not actually go to war with Taiwan in the short term. This was a conceded warrant, which means that obviously China will not attack in the short term. And as I said, probably always on time frame. Also, they conceded that North Korea will not go to war because of the defensive power, which gets rid of the only external scenario that they could possibly have. Now, on the other advantage, the argument about hypersonics, they conceded all of our warrants. One is that they conceded that hypersonics increase peace because it increases a form of mutually assured destruction. Two is that they're completely useless against moving targets and cannot maneuver well, which means that even if countries tried to fire hypersonics, they would be unable to escalate because they literally can't hit any of their targets. Three is that they're too susceptible to point defense, so countries will not be scared of them at all and will not try to get an arms race around it. That answers all their warrants. So one arrow just said some garlic goo about how hypersonics are dangerous, but never actually came to terms to why it has a low impact.
We have 227 starting now. Okay. The order is the Taiwan deterrence page, the Taiwan industry page, and then the allies decide.
Can you say that one more time?
Yeah, the order is the Taiwan deterrence page, the DIB page, and then the allies DI. Are we good? Cool. This is absolutely the worst tool to go for because the AF is not abandonment. That's the fundamental framing issue that they have missed throughout the entire debate. The AF preserves deterrence over China by constraining their efforts. Obviously, that internal link turns all internally, or it link turns the dissent because it's the reason why Japan is scared. They want China to be deterred, which obviously means if the AF creates a form of deterrence, I mean, it's sufficient. The only couple arguments, they only make a defensive argument here, which obviously means we can solve the deterrence. It indicates that our evidence indicates that the current posture doesn't allow for the shift to the asymmetric doctrine, which is the only way to prevent a Chinese invasion because it raises the cost of war. They've conceded that the PRC are pragmatists, which indicates that yes, they want to have war now, and that Taiwan is a commitment that they want. Taiwan is a commitment they want to support, but they have to wait till they can be able to. The AF is able to instead that indefinitely means that we can prevent an invasion for the rest of time. The land. First, he said that PRC will wait. This card is pretty bad, or it's definitely beaten by our master evidence, but indicates that the things like nuclear modernization and other factors like the size re-election indicate that the next 5 years are key for the impact. Obviously, that gives us time to change the draft. It also means that it's try or die. China will escalate in the status quo, which means it's try or die for the affirmative because they've conceded that if China will escalate in the status quo, then it's try or die for the yes. Okay. Even absence when. It's inevitable at some point, which means it's try or die for the F. The no-co stuff, we're not going to go for it, so that doesn't matter. They've conceded the independent miscalc scenario. The Newsham evidence indicates that areas of modernization plus China could create instability because states do not understand each other in the East Asian region, which obviously causes miscalc because it heightens the risk of escalation. The DIB page, it's going to a second straight from the DI because it indicates that modernization is a reason why modernization is going to destabilize the East Pacific. Obviously, that would reduce the Allies' commitment. I'll do that more on the DA, but do that more.